Hello and welcome to the International Soccer Preview by Soccer Files Canada. I'm Kevin.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Kiera.
All right, and this is our introduction to our Mediacast. Mediacast, we'll explain why we use that term shortly. But let's begin with more meaty business. Kiera, can you tell us what the International Soccer Preview is about?
Yeah, it is what it says. We aim to preview the groups and players as we approach each major men's international soccer tournament. That is either the World Cup or one of the regional cups. The Euro Cup, Copa America, CONCACAF Gold Cup for the Central and North America region, the Asian Cup, the African Cup, and the OFC Nations Cup in the South Pacific region. We've been covering these tournaments since 2020.
Before we dive in, we actually want to mention that we'll be doing a quiz. Throughout this short media cast, we'll be asking 3 questions, and listeners can send their answers to our email address, soccerfiles@gmail.com. The address will be visible in the video and show notes. And those who get it correct will be given part ownership of the Wrexham Football Club.
Connor, no, we can't do that. It's not even legal.
No.
What we will do is mention the winner when we do our next media cast on their home country or the country they support.
Yeah, that's a bit more like it. That's good. Hey, Kiera, you are not in the picture. Where were you that day?
Couldn't even tell you.
Anyway, it's too bad. Maybe we'll have to take another picture. Anyway, okay, Connor, why don't you start us off with the first question?
Okay, question number 1 is, which region has the fewest teams?
Which region has the fewest teams? Super. That is question number 1. And now, how about explaining the name of our group, Connor? You actually came up with our group name, Soccer Files, and what was your thinking there?
Yeah, Soccer Files. Well, there's quite a bit to it, actually. We debated whether to go with football or soccer, but we chose the latter ultimately because we want to remain distinctly Canadian. We did want to portray Canada, and even the fairly out-of-the-way area we live in, Edmonton, as a place that knows its soccer.
Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to earn us hosting rights for any of the World Cup games. We did come close.
Yeah, for the 2026 games, but we do have some claims here in Edmonton as a soccer town. But we won't go into too much detail there.
Except to say that we were one of the host cities for the 2015 Women's World Cup, where we hosted a semi-final game and the third place match.
Right.
And we had the famous Azteca game where Canada hosted Mexico in sub-zero conditions. But let's go to question 2.
Okay, question 2. Why don't you give it to us, Connor?
Sure. So what team from the Oceania region, other than Australia or New Zealand, is the only one to take part in a worldwide tournament?
Okay, that's a long question. So other than Australia or New Zealand, what team from the Oceania region is the only one to take part in a worldwide tournament? I'll ask you guys at the end if you know the answer to these questions, but we better carry on. That is a bit of the backstory behind the first part of the Soccer Files name, but we haven't actually covered the files part.
Yeah, that has 2 meanings actually. The first part, files with a PH, means someone who loves something, as in audiophiles who love music, or a technophile is somebody who loves technology. The other meaning is from files with an F. And Kevin, this is a nod to your soccer project and the files you've kept on the national teams and players. And we're going to talk more about these soon.
Great, yeah, we'll touch on that second part later because it's really the basis of this media cast. So, there's that word again. Let's tackle that word, media cast. It's actually a word we've created for ourselves. And it's really because we value the previews both as a podcast or an audio version and as a video cast for the YouTube version. So we want it to work as both. And by the way, Connor, how do you consume the content or content like this?
Yeah, I value them both. The podcast is something I can listen to when I go for a walk or I'm out of the house. I don't have to give my full attention to it. But I do sometimes want to consult the graphics that come with the YouTube version. How about you, Kiera?
Because I'm not as familiar with the teams and especially the players as these other guys are, I like to have the graphics with, for example, the spelling of players' names or the charts where a team finished in the qualifying groups. And the at-a-glance colors give me a really quick impression of how the teams did or how likely a player is to be selected. I find those colors give a lot of information once you know what they're indicating.
Right.
What about you, Kev?
Yeah, for my part, I prefer the audio. We do listen, or I do listen to our own podcast, not as a kind of vainglorious thing, but as a way to preview when I'm coming up to a series. I like to kind of review what I said in the last series there. And I actually listen to it at 1.5 speed or more because I'm fairly familiar with the content, so I can get through it.
Okay, well, that covers the names then. Let's talk a little bit about who we are and how we got into soccer. Kev, the soccer project is yours, so why don't we start with you?
Yeah, well, it's a long story for me, but I'll keep it brief. The first cup I remember was in 1974. My older brother, Peter, your dad, we both begged our parents to let us stay home and watch the final. But we were 11 and 9 years old, so my mom insisted that we go for a feis. I can only say that word once due to the tremendous trauma it brings here.
Yeah, a feis is an Irish dancing competition.
Yeah, okay, I'm over it, kind of. Yeah, so we missed the final, the 1974 final, because of that. We were living in Wales at the time, in Cardiff, Wales. So we moved to Canada actually the following year, and it was a bit harder for us to follow soccer from over here at the time. But somehow we did manage to keep up on the World Cups. So Pete and I were kind of the source for our friends, and we got our friends kind of into it. That was always the case, a kind of infectious love of the game, I guess. And I can remember actually each World Cup and where I was in life for everyone. And somehow we always managed to get off school or work to watch them. Do you guys do that, by the way?
I have in the past.
Yeah, I've not been so lucky, but I try my best.
We'll have to try to arrange that. Anyway, jump forward to 1995. I actually moved to Asia, and I think I did choose South Korea because Pete and I had talked about it, and both of us thought that South Korea was going to get the World Cup in 2002 because we thought South Korea has a bit of a longer history in soccer, and they would get the nod. It turned out both South Korea and Japan both did. So I don't know if I'm actually rewriting the narrative of my time in Korea, but I do remember discussing that with Pete. And Peter did come over for the 2002 World Cup, and we ended up going to a few games, including, I don't know if you'll remember, the quarterfinal shootout between South Korea and Spain.
Yeah, that put South Korea into the semifinals. It would have been crazy to be there.
Yeah, it was great. Anyway, for that tournament in 2002, I kept a scrapbook, and by 2006, I had started basically the soccer project on computer. So I actually had your dad in mind as my audience as I wrote it and developed it, and it just became more and more detailed over the years.
Yeah, so I guess what do you mean by that? Are you able to show us the project?
Yeah, I guess I can give an overview here. I mean, it really is the soccer files here, so it's really a bunch of documents that are organized. I know that's a bit hard to see. So it's a bunch of folders and files. So I guess the important ones here under Soccer Project would be competitions. I actually have the videos for most of the games played over the last 20 years. I collect them. But the more relevant ones here would be the teams file and the players file. So if we go into the teams file, it's divided into the 6 regions there. So whatever team you pick. And then the players file is the same, divided into 6 regions. I think the the CAF and the CONCACAF ones are probably the biggest because those tournaments are every 2 years.
So do you update the files whenever there's a tournament, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I kind of, it's a bit nerdy. I'm a bit embarrassed, but I kind of take notes as I watch the game. And then I put the notes under the players, and then I work that into the summary. And then for the teams, every time they go through a qualification or a tournament, I kind of record. Maybe it's better to give a concrete example. Shall we look at, say, Canada?
Good choice.
Okay, I'll bring up the Canada team file here. My computer's behaving a little slowly. So I have this for every country, even the minor countries, even though they don't always make it to tournaments. Whoops. So and then this is a lot of the information that we present in the podcast. So some of the country information there, their FIFA rankings. These come from some of the scripts we've done for podcasts. So we just kind of copy and paste some of that stuff. And anyone who's seen one of the Mediacasts will be familiar with the at a glance. So each one is divided into their World Cup history, and then later on their Regional Cup history, and then some other tournaments like the Confederations Cup. I missed that tournament. Do you miss it, Connor?
It was a great World Cup warm-up tournament for sure. It's sad they got
I loved it. Yeah. So at a glance for Canada, and then each qualification and tournament year by year. So you see Canada's first was in 1958. And so on, and then the regional tournament, the Gold Cup for Canada. I just want to stop on the year 2000, Connor. Why might I do that?
Oh, that's a memorable year if you're a Canadian soccer fan.
There we go. There it is. Final. Canada in green. And they beat Colombia. I don't know if I'd answer that trivia question. Who did they beat in the final?
Of the 2000 Gold Cup. So do your files go back to all the way back as far as like the 1930 World Cup, the very first one? Do you have information on that?
Yeah, for the teams that were in it, and under the competitions file, I have all of that stuff. So we'll take a quick look at the player files, not to dwell on this that much, but we will take a look at, I don't know which country shall we choose. Should we choose perhaps Canada?
Great choice.
Good choice.
Okay, I'm just waiting for it to open up. It's a little slow.
There we'll have a chance to look at homegrown Edmonton hero Alphonso Davies.
Oh yeah, that was another claim to fame that we should have pointed out. Okay, there it is. Just gonna focus it. So this is pretty straightforward. It's just all of the players that have been involved alphabetically. So I have some of the historical stuff to do that I still want to do. So I would say from 1990 forward, it's pretty accurate. But then for each player, kind of their club history, and then their tournament history. So when I do the player podcast, I'm really just reading off of this, kind of collecting the players that have been playing recently, looking into how recent or how active they've been with the team over the past year or two, and then deciding whether they're a definite, likely, or possible candidate, and so on. So Alphonso Davies. Here's a trivia question for you then. When was Alphonso Davies' first game for Canada?
That's a good question. He was very young, I know, but I don't know what year.
Okay, I'm going to guess 2017. Alphonso Davies, 2017. 59 caps and 15 goals. So that'll be as of the most recent Gold Cup. So probably a little bit bigger now. But look, he has a pretty extensive history so far.
And at one point, he was even a student in Kiera's classroom before he became famous.
Yeah, tell us that story, Kiera.
Yeah, no, I was a student teacher, so my very first experience in a classroom in grade 7 social studies. So I knew Alfonso Davies, and even then, he loved soccer. It was frequent topic of conversation.
Wasn't he telling you that he was going to be a professional player?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and you were like, oh, that's a cute
there
junior
it is.
high kind of ambition. And
Yeah.
there we go. He was right. Yeah, so for each of the tournaments too, this is the World Cup here. I have notes on them, but I don't include that in the general file because it would make them too busy. So that is it. That's the players file.
Both
I think
files, teams and players, really are a huge wealth of knowledge to pull from.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun because once I've kind of processed a tournament, I had the information right there. So for the podcast, a lot of it is just kind of copying it and pasting it and organizing it into place. But then kind of after the tournaments, I'm very busy kind of processing that information and double checking it, because you would be shocked how many of the sources are wrong.
Right.
Anyway, that's a story for another time. Let us move on, shall we?
All right. Well, we were talking, I guess, about the files. Maybe you want to wrap that story up?
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Well, yeah, to finish the narrative, because those are just the files which I started on in 2006. So in 2019, I was actually looking for a podcast for more information on the kind of podcast that we've created on the teams and hopefully on the players. And I was scouring the internet, but I really couldn't find anything except one radio show that was really whining about the Netherlands manager at the time, but they did mention a few players. So I got some idea of who the players are going to be for the tournament. So, and it actually took a little while for the idea to strike me that I was the one well suited to do a podcast like that. So I did, and then Connor was down for helping. So, well, let's hand it over to you, Connor. What are your interests and history with soccer?
Well, I guess I've been interested in soccer for as long as I can remember. I've played soccer my whole life, and I'm still playing 30 years after I started. And I followed it my whole life too. Even while in elementary school, I would wake up early in the morning on Saturdays to watch the English Premier League. And I particularly love the international tournaments, and not just the tournaments themselves, but the whole qualifying process, which I found fascinating. While Kevin was in Korea, we would often correspond about soccer. You've said it once, but I'll say it again. I guess we are soccer nerds. And so the Mediacast became a way to combine our love of soccer and our interest in the history and finer details of the game. Well, well,
I suppose it fits that nerds should be doing a podcast, eh?
That's right. So when we started, we were pretty ambitious at first. We wanted to preview qualifying groups for the tournament, and we actually did do a couple of series for that, for the 2022 World Cup and 2023 African Cup.
Yeah, and part of the reason we wanted to do that was to kind of differentiate ourselves, because I think more podcasts have come out kind of previewing teams especially, but I wanted to do the qualifying so that we could preview the teams that we rarely get to see, so we did do like the preliminary round for the 2026 World Cup in Asian qualifying. And I really like that because, it gave us a chance to look at some of those teams that really don't get any attention.
Yeah, I see Nepal versus Laos here. So those kind of teams are highlighted.
Yeah, that's right. And we do have files on those teams, not so much the players, because if a team doesn't make it to the competition, we don't really get a chance to look at their players. But we are interested in those things.
Yeah, so the files really are a comprehensive record of every team out there.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so, but we have limited ourselves now just to the previewing the tournament themselves. So kind of living up to our name there. The player media casts have become the biggest part of the preview, and you've helped with a couple of the player ones, Kiera.
Yeah, I remember doing Equatorial Guinea and a couple other teams for the 2023 African Cup.
Yeah, it was great to do that with you. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and your history with soccer, Kiera?
Yeah, sure. So like Connor, I've played my whole life and I'm still playing 30 years later. I also coached youth soccer in my community for over a decade. I don't follow international soccer as religiously as Kevin and Connor do, but when the World Cup comes around, I am all in.
Yeah, great. All right, well, let's get back to the Mediacast. It's become a bit unwieldy, even with limiting it just to the World Cup and regional competitions. Right now, the player editions are in two parts because we can't complete it really until the rosters are published and the final squad is selected.
Yes, and that's only a week or two before the tournament. So completing 24 teams or 48 in the next World Cup is a challenge.
Yes, I'm a bit worried about the next World Cup, but we are kind of thinking of a way to maybe reduce that to one Mediacast. But then I'm a bit reluctant to sacrifice the detail. We'll have to make some decisions about that.
Yeah, and that's maybe the final point is that we do want it to be more detailed than most of the media casts out there that provide more of an overview. This is what we feel differentiates us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the files, I go to a lot of trouble to double check information. I think I mentioned that before. Really, and that's for my own comfort level, so I can feel that the information I'm presenting is accurate. So it is sometimes surprising how many inaccuracies there are in sources. So I'm often using 7 or 8 sources and kind of comparing them to make sure I have the information right.
Yeah, and that includes going back and watching the games themselves. And we do that so we can feel confident about the information we are giving and the predictions we're putting forth. We want the predictions to be well grounded, even if the results often don't go the way we expect.
Yeah, I guess I feel a little embarrassed when things are completely the opposite of what we predicted, but as long as we were making sense at the time. But that's part of the fun, and it's what makes it interesting for us to do too.
All right. Well, it's about time to wrap up. And I think we have one more question to go from Connor.
All right. Well, this is a thinking question. Among Kevin's player files, which countries is the longest?
All right. So among the player files, which country's player file would be the longest? The answer to that is actually logical. And I think we've even given a couple of hints to these questions as we've gone through this Mediacast. But we have also tried to make these questions something that's not readily available through a Google search. Maybe an AI search will get the better of us there. But I think anyone who gets them, all 3 of them, really does deserve mention in the World Cup Mediacast series of your choice. So without giving any answers away, how do you guys think you did on those questions?
I think I would have educated guesses for all of them, but I think I might know 2 out of 3.
You're going to predict 2 out of 3. Okay, we'll check with you after we finish here. How about you, Kiera?
I am a little less confident than Connor. Maybe some guesses, maybe a little less educated, but I'll do my best.
Okay, well that brings us to the end. We'll finish by just going over our internet addresses. Kiera?
Yeah, so these will also be in the show notes, but for the podcast, you want to go to soccerfiles.captivate.fm, and that's soccer, PHILES.captivate.fm. For the videocast, it's youtube.com/@soccerfiles, again, PHILES. And the email is soccerfiles@gmail.com.
All right, and those will also be in the show notes, so I hope to hear from you, your answers to the questions through emails. And thanks very much for helping out, you guys.